Hello, and welcome to my presentation entitled Hidden Treasures, Uncover New Discoveries with the FamilySearch Catalog and Full Text Search. I use the phrase hidden treasures because most people, when they want to search collections on FamilySearch, they only go to the section called Search Historical Records and then input search queries for names, locations, birth dates, and death dates. Now, that is the most efficient way to find most commonly viewed records, such as census records, vital records, city directories, and sometimes even military records. And those are usually the first results people see. But there are also specialized collections, targeted collections to certain localities that don't typically show in the search results. To locate those records requires a strategic effort and tactics that I want to share with you today. Now, some of these records are microfilmed, digitized, and/or indexed. Some of them are not. But the FamilySearch staff and volunteers are working tirelessly every day to complete that effort. I'm passionate about the FamilySearch Catalog because I believe it's one of the most important and comprehensive resources that one can use to locate ancestors or research on behalf of clients if they are a professional genealogist, let's say. And I might add, it's all free. But believe me when I say that if you have not used or mastered navigating the FamilySearch Catalog, then you have not scratched the surface of understanding the potential and benefits the FamilySearch website provides you. Maybe you're a person who identified your ancestors living in a particular area on the 1870, 1880, or 1890 census, and you want to know if there are any additional records like births, deaths, marriages, tax, probate, or civil court records to give you more context on your ancestors' lives. If you are looking for enslaved people, maybe you've identified where they were enslaved and or identified one or more of their ancestors, and you want to examine that locality's property and estate records. Well, the FamilySearch Catalog is an absolute phenomenal tool to help you find the answers you're looking for. This presentation teaches you the methodologies for searching the catalog and explains effective search tips that will lead you to success. So let's get started. So what is the FamilySearch Catalog? Well, basically it's a searchable guide for genealogical information found online in books, on film, microfiche, maps, periodicals, journals, and even private family histories that were donated, scanned, and digitized. Now, many of these items, they are a click away on the FamilySearch website. Otherwise, the catalog can point you in other directions, such as libraries, universities, historical repositories, such as the FamilySearch Library, or even family search centers around the world for sourced information and documentation. See, over 120 years ago, volunteers and missionaries of the Church of Latter-day Saints, they worked with these types of institutions, churches, historical and genealogical societies, and even local municipalities to gather all this historical content. Over the years, FamilySearch has worked to set up contractual agreements with these entities to make the content digitally available to the public. But some of the contractual agreements, they restrict or limit use in various ways that I will discuss later on in this presentation. And those restrictions could have been due to data privacy laws and other requirements set by the custodians of these records. Custodians like county or parish clerks of court. So you may ask, why use the FamilySearch Catalog? Well, the catalog is a fantastic centralized repository for county and parish records and other localities and jurisdictions. And so due to that fact, besides locating harder to find specialized record collections on your ancestors, you can use it to develop your own locality guide of record collections for the areas you're researching in, so that you don't have to rediscover them again and again. And you can also use it to build a research plan aimed at tackling the specific research questions you have. It's important to formulate good research questions. Now that topic, that really is its own presentation for another day. So this is the sign-in page. Now, For time's sake, I'm not going to cover creating a new account, but if you don't have one, I highly recommend you create a Family Search account. One, because it's very easy. Two, because it's free. And three, because without it, you will be restricted from many records within the catalog. Now, once you're logged into your account, you're going to want to find the navigational menu at the top of the screen and click the word search. That will bring down this drop-down menu you see here, and you'll want to click the word catalog. You will end up on this page, which is the Family Search Catalog landing page. And here you have 8 different search criteria to choose from. You can search by place, surnames, titles, author, subjects, keywords. And each of these 6 criteria serve a good purpose, but for the purposes of this presentation, we'll leave it on the default, which is place, which is in gray, and type in the locale where the target ancestor lived. Now, for the last 2 criteria, you can search by call number or image group number, or also known as a film number or a DGS number. And I'll show you an example of using that shortly. And lastly, you have the choice of deciding which available records to view. If you choose any, you will find records available in all forms, whether physical or digital formats. If you choose online, then you will only see digital records. Now, my recommendation is you always keep the default option of any selected to ensure that you gather all available record collections. So to demonstrate the application of the catalog's features, I'm going to start by using my research on my 2-times great-grandfather William Morris Whitley as an example. While researching him, I found his U.S. Social Security application and claims index record, which included his birthday, which you can see here is March 14th, 1874, his birthplace, which is listed as Pensacola, Florida, and then it has his parents, his father John Whitley and his mother Emma Francis. Now with that information on hand, I can now ask my first research question, and that would be, can I find a marriage record for John and Emma in Pensacola, Florida during that time frame? Searching Florida County marriage records, I was able to find the index record of John Whitley marrying Emmeline Francis in Escambia, Florida on May 17, 1866. So with this information, I now have my next research question, which is, can I actually find that marriage record in the Family Search Catalog? Okay, so from here is where all the blessings are going to flow, right? Before we go any further, I want to make a point of clarification about entering in names versus entering in places. You would think that because I have my ancestors' names, John Whitley and Emma Francis, that I could just type in a name and search for them. That's not really the way the Family Search Catalog. I would say that it's not designed, that way, preferably. Unless your ancestor has a book named after him or something like that, you might be able to find them under titles, or if you're looking for a particular author, putting in a name might be an effective way. But when you're looking for a record like this, you really want to focus on a place. So in this situation, we know that the marriage occurred in Pensacola, or we believe that it did. And so if I were to type in Pensacola, if you notice, the Family Search Catalog's naming convention in the drop-down menu is to put the city first, then the county, then the state, and then the country. Okay, so if I were to just go by Pensacola and click search, it's showing me all of these records in their catalog, right? Which is great. I want to show you something though. Place of information. If you click this, it will show you it'll show you all the information that you want to know about the city. It gives you basic information about it. Also, what it was really cool here now is they give you, looks like a Google generated Google map. And so you can see where this locality is anywhere in the United States, right? So if you don't know where Pensacola, Florida is on a map, you can look at it right here and find it. Awesome. But what's here, down here under basic information, it says Pensacola is a city in the Florida Panhandle in the United States. It is the county seat and only city in Escambia County. So it's the county seat. Now, for best practices when researching, particularly for these type of records, I don't like to look. I never look on a city level. I only look on the county level. So what that would compel me to do is to come back here in the beginning, and instead of looking in Pensacola, I would just look in the county. And then that way, when you search, you're going to pull up even more county records. So starting here, since we know where the research question is to look for a marriage record for John Whitley and Emma Francis, we go under vital records because vital records includes birth, death, and marriage records. And as we look through this database, I see here marriage records between 1822 and 1927. And we know that my two times great grandfather, William Morris Whitley, was born in 1874, according to the Social Security information, right? So we figure the marriage would have occurred within this time range. So if we click here, you'll come to this page that gives you great detailed information on that particular record collection. It gives you the title of the record collection. It gives you the authors, which happens to be the Escambia County Clerk of Court. So these records, these marriage records come straight from the county courthouse. They were microfilmed and published in 1973 and 1993 and filmed by the Genealogical Society of Utah. So again, going back to what I said from the very beginning, volunteers and missionaries from the Church of Latter-day Saints who microfilm these records, obviously going into contract with the county to allow them to do so. And these were published and are stored in Salt Lake City at the Family Search Library there in Salt Lake City, Utah. Gives you how many reels of film there are, 7 reels. There's even references to other records. Now, I'm not going to click on this, but for those of you who are Florida researchers, if you want to see a lot of marriage records in several different counties, you'll want to go into this, but I'm not clicking on those shiny objects right now. But there's, more information here. And then down here, before I go any further, notes. I highly recommend that when you look at these pages that give you detailed information on the collections, please reference the notes. The notes can give you valuable information as well. It says microfilm of records at Escambia County, 1976, and Special Collections Department at the University of West Florida, Pensacola, Florida. Ding, ding, ding. So that's telling you exactly where these records come from if you ever want to go to these locations and find them. Now, down here is where it gets really interesting because now they've broken down all of these because there's 7 reels of film. Well, it's breaking down for you how these reels of films are organized. What you see here in this column where it says volume A through F, that means that these were books. These are book marriages or records of marriage books in the courthouse. So if you were to go to the courthouse, you'll see book A, book B, book C, and so forth. And from book A to book F, those years of marriage records are going to range from 1822 to 1870. Secondly, they're assigned film numbers and the image group numbers that I talked about earlier. So you can actually search these collections by the film numbers or the image group number. Now, it's telling you that these reels of film are stored at the Granite Mountain Record Vault. That is in Salt Lake City. So all their reels of film are stored there now. There used to be a time period where people could request these reels of film to be copies of them to be made and shipped to family search centers in your area, and you could look at them on microfilm. But since all microfilm has been digitized, you no longer have to do that. Now, here's the real meat and potatoes right here. These icons, which are telling you in these different formats how you can search these records. These are very, very important. But before I get into how to browse these records, I want to take a moment to explain what these icons mean on the right side of the screen. And I've provided this legend for your convenience. The first icon listed here, the magnifying glass, indicates that the record collection is either partially indexed or fully indexed. The camera icon indicates that you are allowed to browse the digitized microfilmed images. In this scenario, you'd be able to browse them page by page, and you can do this from the privacy of your own home with a FamilySearch account. But the camera with the warning symbol indicates that you would not be able to do that because of restrictions placed by the owners of these records. Their contractual agreement with FamilySearch is that you can view them, but only from your local family history center. And then there's the full text search icon. This is a capability that allows you to use AI to search unindexed images. Now, this tool right here, this is a game changer, and I'm going to show you why in a minute. Then there's also the film reel, which indicates the records are still on microfilm or microfiche. They are not digitized, and they are only located at the FamilySearch Library in Salt Lake City. So you'll have to go there to view them. Now, that could be because they are not digitized yet, or because the record owners or custodians, they just restricted the access under those terms and conditions. Now, if there's no icon at all, then that means that FamilySearch has no physical copy of the record, and or the custodian completely denied access. Sometimes it's just a matter of identifying what other repository or library has the item. FamilySearch partners with WorldCat to provide that information, and I'm going to cover that at the end of this presentation. Okay, so getting back to the marriage record for John Whitley and Emma Francis. So what do we know? We know that they were married in May of 1866 in Escambia County, right? So with that information, we can deduce that their marriage certificate would more than likely be found in this set of records here between 1822 and 1870, right? So it's in one of these books, A, B, C, D, E, or F. And if you click this icon here to search the index, since these records are indexed, the cool thing about this pathway is you would just type in the name of either the groom or the bride. So in this case, we'll just type John Whitley, and we don't have to put in the place because these are Escambia County records. We know that part, but we would want to narrow down our search to the year 1866, and boom, here you have it. These two results here that really are the same record. I think one is just an index record, and you can click either one, you're going to see the same thing. And I typically like to look at the index record first to see what preliminary information it gives me. And then I just go here and I click on the image. Either way, I could have clicked the camera and taken me straight to the image, or I can go through the index and then click the image. And so here I click the image and it shows me here. It says, whereas John Whitley, a freedman, has applied to me for a license to authorize his marriage with Emmeline Francis, a freed woman of the county aforesaid. So and this is dated, what does it say? I hereby certify that on the 17th day of May, 1866, I solemnize the rights of matrimony between the above named parties. So, this is showing that it's about a year after the Civil War. This record is consistent with what you see on Ancestry.com. So you know that you're looking at the correct record. Okay, so that strategy worked because the record is indexed, right? We're able to click the icon and it takes us into fully indexed records. But what if these records had not been fully indexed? Kind of like on this second row right here, where you see there's only a camera where you can browse the images, and it's also you can also use full text search, which is an AI feature, right? So if it's not fully indexed, you're going to have to find a different way to look at it. So let's just imagine, for the sake of argument, John John Whitley and Emma Francis marriage certificate was not indexed, right? So this option would not be available. That means if I would have to click this icon here, the camera, and it's going to take me into all of the images. These are all, but don't let this overwhelm you, right? People look at this and they think, oh my goodness, I'm not looking through all of this. This will take me hours. It could take me days, maybe weeks, because there's over 1,000 images in here. But just remember, these are books. These are the same books you would go see if you were to walk into a courthouse and look at those books page by page. And what do you do when you look at books inside of a courthouse or inside of a library? You look for index records. You look for guides to help you and finding aids to help you pinpoint you to where you need to go. So when you're looking at all of these images like this, the first thing that I would focus my eyes on my attention is these header pages here where you see beginning and end, or any place maybe right before that where it's giving you header information on this microfilm collection or that book. So you know they put these in here so you can see where one book begins and where the other book ends. That's how you get through these efficiently and not waste a lot of time. So you can double click the image right here, or you can click this little icon here to show a single image rather than show several images. Okay. What I like to do, I just pretty much stick to the image itself and I double click it. So I double click it here and it shows me the header page. It shows me everything I need to know about that particular collection. It's volume A from 1822 to 1842. Well, we can already rule this out because we know they were married in 1866. So this one wouldn't apply. So you're just going to keep scrolling through these till you find the one you want. If I scroll down to, let's say, I'm going to skip a few books out. Okay, so here's the beginning of this image. We get down to volume D from 1853 to 1860. We're close, but we're still not there. So we go back out. We scroll to the next book. The next book begins right here. We take a look at the header page. 1860 to 1867. So we know it's got to be here in volume E. Okay. And then the next thing that I would pay attention to is at the beginning of the book, look for indexes in the book, because that will also make it easier for you to get to the page that you're looking for. You can actually see them from this view, in which you see how these pages look different. These images look different from these images here. That's because these right here, and you get used to looking at these. You just get familiar with them the more that you look at these catalogs. But here you can see these are index pages, and they go all the way till you get to about right here, and this page is blank. And you go from this page to you start looking at actual marriage licenses. Okay. So the first thing that I would do is I'd look in these records, in these indexes. Now, every state, every county can be different. Some will list the full name of the groom and the full name of the bride. Some will only list the brides in one index and the grooms in another index. In this case, just kind of studying this, it looks like what they did was they put the last names of both the groom and the bride, the groom's last name, the bride's maiden name. So I know that I would have to look for either Whitley Francis or Francis Whitley. Usually I'll say they put the groom's name first. So I would imagine that I would have to go to Whitley to look for Whitley. So I'm going to start from the back. Or from the end of the indexes, because you figure W is over there, and lo and behold, we see it. So look here. So we have Whitley and Francis right here on page 86. So now I know that in book E, I got to go to page 86. So then you come back out, and then now it's just a matter of scanning, just kind of scanning these images real quick to look to see what page you're on. Now we got to get to page, what was it, 86? I have a bad short-term memory, but this is page 26. So let's keep scrolling down till we guesstimate where 86 would be. Oh, looky, I'm pretty good here. 85. So all I got to do is click this arrow and I'm on page 86 right there. And what am I looking at? John Whitley of Freedman and Emmeline Francis Freedman. So it's the same record. So this is just to give you, to just show you the strategies on how and the techniques on how you can actually browse the images directly and get to where you need to fairly quickly. Don't be afraid to look through these images. Don't be afraid. Don't get overwhelmed. There's a method to everything, right? Just think of yourself going into a courthouse, looking at the same books that you would normally look at. Like you're in a library and you're looking for specific index information and finding aids that'll point you right to where you want to go. It's the same thing. It's just online. That's all. All right. So with this last icon here, the full text icon, this is the scenario that I said is the game changer, because just as I was showing you with browsing images, you're having to read those images, um, you know, but with the naked eye, and that can be very labor intensive, right? You're talking about old handwriting. You're talking about some handwriting that's good, some handwriting that's bad, some images that are in good shape, some are in bad shape. It can be very difficult, and over the course of several hours, it can be very labor intensive and exhausting to look at those images. Well, the full text transcripts actually do a lot of that work for you and lighten your load. So that's the beauty of AI is literally transcribing those documents for you so that you can see it in text like this. And what you want to do is search that text. Okay. And in order to do that, you would click edit search and then just type the keyword that you're looking for. You could type in Freedman and it might show you all of the marriage records of anyone who was identified as a freedman or freedwoman. So in this case, who were we looking for again? John Whitley and Emma Francis. So all I have to do in the keyword search is type in the name John Whitley. And you'll notice this image group number. Well, that's the name of the, again, I talked about this earlier. That's the identifier of the microfilm collection. So you can literally put that in here and only search that microfilm collection. You don't have to search a bunch of collections all over the world, right? So that helps. So it's narrowing it down. So when you click apply, what do you get? You get John Whitley. Now notice, see again, the transcriptions are not perfect. You notice it says appealman. We know good and well that it doesn't say Peelman. He is not a Peelman. He is a freedman. But, the main point here is that it pulls up the record that you want right away. Yeah, this is a fascinating thing. So again, just for kicks, if I want to click edit search and type in Emmeline Francis instead, I'm going to do it without the quotes. The reason why I did it with the quotes is because when you put your text in between quotes, it'll literally search for that string of text and nothing else. It'll only look for John next to Whitley. That's it. Okay. But if I take the quotes off and I just type Emmeline Francis, right? I just put that in, no quotes. Notice how when I click apply, you'll see records that show an Emmeline Blaylock, an Emmeline Jones, Emmeline France, which might be her. I'll click on that in a second. Francis Comment, Francis Marion. So what happens when you enter your search in this fashion, what this is saying is please search for any records with either Emmeline or Francis. Whereas when you put it in quotes, it's Emmeline. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's Emmeline and Francis, right? And so there's, so let me just get to here where if you click this record, it is the same record. There's John Whitley again and Emmeline Francis. Yeah, notice that they again transcribed the document wrong. So again, it's not perfect technology, but it really can save you tons and tons of time. For clarity or more explanation on searching tips, I do recommend clicking this button called Search Tips whenever you see it on the catalog's website. It displays these tips right here that break it down very well. And as I stated before, you can put your word or phrase like Henry Jones in quotes, and your search results will include all images with the phrase Henry Jones. And every character between those two words, like let's say Henry W. Jones. And if you type Henry plus Jones without quotes, it'll show you all images where Jones and Henry are in the same image. If you do the exact opposite, where you put Henry minus Jones, that will show all images that have Henry on them, but not Jones. Now the last two, these are my favorite. The first one, using a question mark, that's just where, the character could vary. As we know, many names have many different spellings. So if you don't want to search them all individually, just put a question mark where the letter could be different. And I love to use these for letters with, names with vowels. And then there's the asterisk. This one is where you may be certain on some of the letter combinations in a name, but the rest could be a million different combinations. You can just put an asterisk between letters to pull up every combination possible. So in the next example, I'm going to show you what I mean. All right, so we're going to go back to the landing page of the Family Search Catalog, and I'm going to give you another example from a different jurisdiction. We're going to go into the Orleans Parish Courthouse, or I'm sorry, the Orleans Parish records. And here, as you can see through their catalog, there's tons of records: cemetery records, church records, funeral home records, maps. They have probate records, vital records. They have tons. But what we're going to focus on here is the court records, right? Actually, the case papers. And these case papers deal with the New Orleans civil court uh, case files. Now, why do I want to do this? Because my family, on my mother's side, I've been researching for over 25 years. And so I'm very familiar with a lot of the individuals who have lived in that parish and in different time frames. I've been able to identify some of them living there as early as the 1850s. And so one of the individuals that I identified was my three times great grandmother, Melinda Carr. The interesting thing about Melinda that I had discovered was that she had been married prior to giving birth to my great great grandfather, to this man named Gabriel Jones, who I'd never heard of. And she apparently had three other children that I did not know about. And so I had decided one day, not because of that fact, but just because I know so much about the family members on that part of my tree, I just decided one day to scour through the civil court papers to see if I could find the names of any of my ancestors that I knew lived in the area during this time frame between 1880 and 1885 to start with, right? So, and this is the index to the case paper. So of course, like I told you before, I would start with indexes because you're just looking at names, right? And so I had time that day, decided to go looking through, see if I could find any names of individuals that I recognized. And I did come up with a hit for Melinda. Now, I did this the old school way before the full text search feature was available. I did it just browsing the images because I showed you the methodology. I got to it fairly quickly. Once I saw the hit gave me a case number. The case number referred to a page where that case file began. I then scrolled through the images as if it were a book and found the page and found the case file and read through it. So for the sake of time though, I'm going to show you with the new feature available, full text search, how I can do it even easier. So I click the full text search icon and it takes me to this page. Now, I just want to apply for you what I just talked about full text search tips, right? So given the fact that her first name is Melinda, there's a lot of vowels in this name, right? The M, the A, I'm sorry, the A, the I, and another A. Well, we know that Melinda could be spelled with an E, M-E, or it could be M-E-L-E. I even heard a story from my great grandmother's brother that they called her Grandma Melindy. So that means this last A could have been an E. Too many combinations. I mean, do I want to sit here and do a search for each one? No. So given the search tips that I talked about, we can apply them here. And as I told you, I like to replace all of the vowels in a name with question marks. In addition to that, because her last name was Carr, you know that that could be also spelled different ways. It could be C-A-R-R, C-A-R-E, C-A-I-R, C-A-E. I mean, there's a million different ways, right? It could be have an E on the end. So what I chose to do was put CA and then put an R at the end, and then just use an asterisk to try to catch every combination in between. And I believe when you click apply, I believe I may come up here with, yes, her name right here, Melinda Care, and his wife, it says Jones P. So this is just a what do you call this? Just a little view, a preview of what's in the record. But I have enough information here to catch my attention, right? So I'm going to click on this. And when I do, and it shows me the full image, thanks to AI, they've highlighted it for me. I don't have to scour the whole page. Looky here. Gabriel W. Jones, Melinda Care, which really is Carr, his wife. And there is the case number, 9809. So with that information, I'm going to go back to the case papers. And in the case papers, now we know what case file we're looking for. So as we go through these case papers, we want to find, again, 9809. So we go back, we keep scrolling through until we get to 9809, which would be, I believe, somewhere in this section, because here's 9806, so it's only 3 cases after this. So then I could do a full text search, which I will do this instead. And since we know they spelled her name as Care, we'll just try Melinda Care. Does it pop up? And there we have it. So we click this file. And now you have the beginning of the court papers for my 3 times great grandmother, who they said Miss Melinda Care. And I believe it refers to Gabriel Jones. I actually can see his name right here. But yes, Gabriel Jones and Melinda Care. So this right here is the file, right? And here it even shows you the case number, 9809. So there you have it. Okay, I want to point out another benefit available to you when you use the FamilySearch Catalog. And if we go back to Orleans, the Orleans Parish Catalog, and we're taking a look through these records, let's say you click on genealogy and you see this item right here. You click on it to get more information, and it shows you it's a book called Early Settlers on the Delta, Families of St. Bernard, Plaquemine, and Orleans Parishes, Louisiana. So it clearly is a book published in 87. It's about 389 pages. And so maybe you're thinking, cool, I can go here on the FamilySearch Catalog and look at a digital format of it. Well, it turns out they don't have a digital format of it. It is actually available in book format on the 3rd floor of the FamilySearch Library, which is located in Salt Lake City, Utah. So all you would need is this call number. If you're on site, go to the 3rd floor and you'll see it on the shelves in their library. But what if that's not if you, let's say you don't have the means to get there to get that item, how else could you get the item? Are there any other alternatives? Well, this is why I said to focus on the notes, because there can be a lot of great information in the notes. And sometimes the notes can refer to links like this that say, view this catalog record in WorldCat for other possible copy locations. Well, what is WorldCat? Well, Family Search International partners with WorldCat to share data between their platforms for improved genealogy research and access to resources. WorldCat is actually the world's largest database of records and resources in any of the libraries and universities around the world. And if digitized and physical formats of records that you seek are not available on Family Search, or they're not at the center in Utah, you can click on this link and it'll take you to WorldCat's site where you can gain access to millions of collections worldwide. So the other nice thing is that WorldCat, if it finds digital collections that are available on Family Search, it'll link back to Family Search. So even if you're just browsing this site, you didn't even go through Family Search, and you find items that are available, it'll refer to that. So that's great. But you can find books, original manuscripts, biographies, local histories, maps, and a whole lot more. But here's an example of that book being available on WorldCat's site. And you can see here the libraries around the country that you can find it. The Los Angeles Public Library, a Family Search library. Oh, that's the one in Salt Lake. So that would be the main library. Pikes Peak Library District in Colorado. You got Waco, Texas. You got Madison, Wisconsin. So definitely pay attention for any references to WorldCat if you may be able to get access to an item anywhere in your area. So I have one last strategic tip that I would like to share with you, and this has to do with something that is commonly overlooked by researchers, which is boundary changes. Sometimes we have to stop and think to ourselves when we're researching, where are we looking and where are we looking in a particular point in time? Okay, so what you're looking at here is from a website called mapofus.org, or really is US, but as in United States, but it's the map of the US. So it's www.mapofus.org. And you can see on this website, you can look at any of the 50 states and look at how their boundaries changed over time. This is through a program called AnnieMap Plus 3.0. Some of you have been around a long time. You may be familiar with this software. And so it's been integrated into this website, something that I have loved for years, because as you can see here, you can actually look at boundary changes over the course of time in the 19th century and the 20th century. So this is huge for a researcher. So just to give you an example, for years I have often researched in Webster Parish, Louisiana, and here you can see Webster's right here in the northwest corner of the state. But this is, as you can see, this is in 1870. But if I were to go back 1 year, Webster's gone, because it wasn't created yet. It wasn't created until 1871, and it explains that to you here. And not only does it tell you it was created in 1871, it tells you from which parishes it was created. So in 1871, that same area was a combination of Bossier, Claiborne, and Bienville parishes. But a year later, when they establish that parish, that all changes. But if your ancestors still in the exact same place, depending on what time period you're looking in, you may have to look in either Webster or the other three parishes. So just something just a tidbit of information that I want to make sure that you all are aware of. And I highly recommend using this site for any state that you're looking in, because it may help you. You may be getting frustrated, wondering why I've been looking in this area for a long time and I can't find records, and I know my ancestors were here. Maybe it was because the boundary was different in the time period you're looking in. So just a word of caution. Now, if any of this presentation was unclear to you and there's information that you would like to go over again, and this, for whatever reason, this video presentation is unavailable to you, I highly recommend that if you're on the Family Search Catalog landing page, that you click here where it says See Tips and Resources. If you click on that, this takes you into the Family Search Catalog Learning Center, which I think is a great resource to help give you the basic understanding of family search and answer some of your frequently asked questions. They have wonderful articles in here that cover some of the things that I've covered. There's things like, how do I search the Family Search Catalog for records? How do I use the print list in the Family Search Catalog? How do I request a correction in the catalog? Why are some microfilms in the Family Search Catalog unindexed? Aside from these wonderful articles, it also gives you these wonderful videos here that basically do what I did and give you tips and strategies on how to search in the catalog, probably give you some tips that I did not cover. And then of course you have your typical frequently asked questions down here. So you have plenty of information to guide you if you need any assistance. All right, so let's recap what we've covered. First, make sure you create an account. It's free. And then focus on your research question, the who, the when, and the where. That will help you search by locale in the Family Search Catalog, but be mindful of boundary changes. Then understand the different formats that the items are in, whether they're books or microfilm, microfiche, digitized images as well, and whether or not they've been indexed or not indexed or restricted or not, because that will dictate your research strategy. And also, don't forget to utilize the Family Search Catalog's benefits, such as their partnership with WorldCat for records worldwide in universities and libraries. And also, don't forget to visit the Learning Center for additional help, tips, and tricks. Well, this concludes my presentation, and I hope you found it and my methodologies helpful in understanding the power of the Family Search Catalog. And if you are interested in learning more about how I use the Family Search Catalog to help me solve a 160-year-old mystery from oral history told to me by my grandmother, who taught me to memorize 7 generations of my maternal ancestry, please feel free to scan this QR code to purchase my award-winning book. The book is called When Your Ancestors Choose You, Finding Binky, and it's on Amazon right now. And alternatively, if you can't scan the QR code, you can just Google it. You can Google my name and Google the title of the book, and it'll come up as well. And lastly, if you want to connect with me on social media or email, you can just find me on the different platforms listed on the left. The top one is my email address, me@michaelawillis.com. Otherwise, you see my Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube if that's something that if that's a form of communication for you. And then on the right is my website, michaelawillis.com. So again, thank you for your time and best wishes on your continued journey for the truth.